those few members of the audience who might not know Dr. Lewis Baldwin from this show, let's have you give them sort of an overview of your background, education, and experiences. And then we'll get into the issue of the legacy of President Barack Obama. I think you'll have an opportunity to pull a lot of things together, since this is what his 7th year as the president, and he's probably thinking about the same thing that you're probably thinking about this one. Let's do it from that perspective.
Well, I'm a native of Camden, Alabama, the so-called Alabama Black Belt. I attended the public schools of Camden, Alabama, Wilcox County, graduated from Camden Academy High School in 1967, and I then matriculated at Talladega College in Talladega, Alabama, which is historically black college, graduating in 1971 with a BA in history. From there to Crozer Theological Seminary, where I received the MA degree in Black Church Studies in 1973, the MDiv degree in 1975. From there to Northwestern University, where I received the PhD degree in American Christianity in 1980. And since that time, of course, I've been writing about politics. I've been writing about Martin Luther King Jr. I've been writing about black religion and culture.
And perhaps, Dr. Baldwin, when you finish this show today, you might also be encouraged to continue your writing career by writing about the legacy of President Barack Obama, because I think that that will be a great legacy, and that's what we anticipate today in terms of you talking about that.
Exactly. That's what I want to write about, because I think he is a historic figure, and we need to write about him because he's accomplished so much. He means so much not only to America but to the world. And hopefully we get into a discussion more specifically about his meaning and significance, about his achievements, and about what we might consider to be his legacy now that he's in the last months of his presidency.
Very good. And so I tell you, Dr. Baldwin, we've got about 2 minutes before this first segment in. Let's sort of give an overview in terms of some of the things that you'd like to talk about dealing with his presidency.
I think we have to see the election of Barack Obama, or Barack Hussein Obama, as the most important historic event of the 21st century. We're in the early part of the 21st century. Many would say that September 11, 2001 is the most historic event. But I think that November 4th, 2008, when Obama was elected, this was the most historic event because it had implications not only for public policy in America, but for how we would relate to the rest of the world. And if you look at the reaction to his election in 2008, there was a lot of pride and jubilation on the part of blacks. If you look around the world at the Arab League, for an example, the European Union, countries in Africa, they saw his election as a new era in international relations, and I think that has proven to be true. Many of us thought when Barack Obama was elected that we were in a post-racial era.
Oh, that's what they called it.
But that has proven not to be true. Interestingly enough, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1968, and these are his exact words, he said in 1968 that in 40 years we could have a Negro president. Okay, 2008, Obama is elected. But that has not ushered in a post-racial America. We are forced to deal even more specifically with questions of race and gender and ethnic identity and religious pluralism. I think the election of Obama brought all of these issues to the forefront, and we are forced to deal with those issues now.
Okay, and so what we'll do, we'll take this commercial break and then we'll come back, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Seconds too soon. Good, there you go. Now this is an 8-minute segment. Okay. This is his achievements. Yeah, that's good. that's good to have all of those in one spot.
Yes, exactly.
So what did Obama do? Well, he did. That's what I like to hear. Yeah. How's the weather out there? Is it still?
Oh man, it's hot out there.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
I wanted to go fishing, but I'm not going to be able to do that this
you a fisherman?
Oh man.
Oh no.
Do a lot of fishing. Man.
Oh yeah, you do.
Marlbone Lake, Old Hickory Lake.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Old Hickory Dam.
Do you ever catch anything?
Oh yeah. A lot of cat and brim and.
Oh yeah.
And bass. Yeah.
So you're a real fisherman.
Crappie. Oh, absolutely.
Oh man, I know my experience with fishing was going out way out in the woods with my uncle.
I see.
And he decided that he will not leave until he used all the baits. And then he's up there on that end fishing, and I'm on this end throwing in the baits.
I see.
So I was ready to go, yeah. But yeah, I used to go out and I used to stay all day long, go early in the morning, come back late at night.
And come in late at night.
Late at night.
That's right. I go up to Marlbone Lake in Ashland City. It's sort of up in the mountains, and deer will come stand right by you. Of course, there are a lot of snakes up there.
30 seconds.
This is the second segment, right? Okay. And so you're going to deal with achievements.
Yeah, achievements, yeah.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Dr. Lewis Baldwin from Vanderbilt University, and the topic is the legacy of President Barack Obama. Now, Dr. Baldwin, before we had our first commercial break, I think we promised that we'll give you an opportunity to talk about President Obama from the position of some of his achievements during his presidency.
Exactly.
Let's talk about
I mentioned earlier that the election of Obama was probably the most historic event in the 21st century. We are early into this century. But right after he was elected in 2009, he signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, which of course guaranteed the right of women to sue for pay equity. So right off the bat, from the beginning of his tenure as president, he made a move that improved the position and the status of women in our society. In 2010, of course, he came up with the Affordable Health Care, Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, as
Obamacare,
which was designed to provide low-cost, affordable, quality health care for all Americans. So he moved us along the course of universal health care. And you know from our previous conversations that Dr. King had always said, Martin Luther King Jr., that in order to become the true expression of the American dream, we had to provide universal health care for all people. And Obama made that move with the Affordable Care Act. And of course, later, of course, he came up with the Iran nuclear deal, which was designed to prevent Iran from coming up with a nuclear weapon. Comprehensive investigations, inspections to make sure that Iran did not have a nuclear weapon. And recently, of course, he's done a lot in terms of reestablishing diplomatic relations with Cuba. Him and his wife in March of this year went to Cuba, and he made it clear that he's interested in engaging and empowering the Cuban people, moving them toward democracy, toward prosperity, toward a stable nation. So he's made contributions in that area as well. In terms of the LGBT community, as you well know, a lot is being said now about the LGBT community. President Obama passed a number of pieces of legislation to prevent hate crimes.
Okay, good.
Not only on the basis of race, but on the basis of gender and sex orientation. He repealed the Don't Ask, Don't Tell legislation. So he's been active in that regard as well. He's done a lot in terms of advancing the freedoms of not only black people, but LGBT people, Muslim people, people of other racial and ethnic backgrounds. I think he's done more than any other president in my lifetime to advance the freedoms of various peoples in our society, ethnic groups, racial groups, religious groups, etc.
And so in real sense, his administration has been one that moved America forward in a real sense.
Toward the realization of the American dream. And I think he's often said that he's a product of the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. And I think he stood squarely in that legacy in terms of promoting civil liberties and the rights of all peoples, irrespective of race, ethnic background, gender, religious orientation. He's been about advancing the freedoms and the civil liberties of people.
You know, I'm glad you said that, Dr. Baldwin, because when you look at what is going on around the world today, you find that there is still a great need in terms of having a person with the sensitivity of a Barack Obama in the White House. And so while he might be leaving, we can still look at some of the things that he was able to accomplish and recognize that there's quite a bit to build on.
Exactly, not only on the domestic level, but on the global level. I think Obama, more than any other president in recent times, has been able to engage the challenges of globalization. And globalization has put certain demands on us in terms of how we relate to other countries, in terms of how we relate to peoples of different ethnic and racial and national backgrounds. And I think he's been able to engage the process of globalization on those levels.
As well as the environment. That's one of the things that I think about all the time when you talk about globalization and et cetera. This whole idea of climate change, and climate warming, and et cetera. And he's been quite active in that.
Getting together with nations like China and other nations to address the issues of climate change and other issues relative to globalization. So he's been